Tonight, it's official. A tornado touched down in McMinnville.
When I opened the door, it was big raindrops and coming down 90 miles an hour.
Powerful storm cells hit the area, ripping buildings apart.
Most of this debris was up in the air, though. I'd say 60, 70, 80 feet. And it was just kind of whirling around like so.
We're live from the scene with the worst of the damage.
And welcome everyone to KOIN 6 News at 11. I'm Kelly Day. Jeff is off tonight. That tornado touched down at about 4:30 today, and we have team coverage of the developing story now with first-hand accounts from people who saw that twister move through. We'll start with Cor Harlan live in McMinnville. Cor?
Well, Kelly, the tornado that touched down on this rather nondescript-looking building here in McMinnville, as you can see, did quite a lot of damage. And in the process, it also took away the life's work of the 86-year-old man who was inside this building when disaster struck.
It's hard to work your full head off, and then what do you get? In 5 minutes, it's gone.
His 31 years worth of work in the auto repair business in McMinnville went out the window Thursday afternoon when a tornado tore the roof off of his shop and destroyed nearly everything inside.
I was sitting just inside the door in a chair there with my cats around me, and I heard this heck of a noise, and I thought it was hail.
Spencer got up from his chair, swung open the door to what he says looked like big raindrops coming down sideways at 90 miles an hour.
A tornado does stuff like this. A windstorm don't. This took the roof off this side, off the other side, off the other buildings out there.
Sheet metal lined the street near Spencer's shop after the tornado passed. George Worley, who lives near Spencer's shop, heard what he thought was a transformer exploding, then looked out his window and saw Spencer's metal roof flying through the air.
Most of this debris was up in the air, though. I'd say 60, 70, 80 feet. And it was just kind of whirling around like so. And it just set it down and went on.
As tornadoes go, this was a relatively small one, but it could not have been more devastating for the man who lived through it. Now at 86, this McMinnville mechanic will have to salvage what he can and start over. Now, friends have already started coming to the aid of Mr. Rigglesworth there. The RV that you're looking at right there is next to the shed. That's been brought in here within the last half hour. That's where he will be staying. That will be his residence here for the time being until he and his friends can figure out where he goes from here. Live in McMinnville, Cor Harlan, KOIN 6 News.
Cor, thank you. And several of our KOIN 6 viewers captured that tornado and its aftermath on camera. One woman even witnessed the storm about 100 feet from her home. Jessica Morker continues our live team coverage now with that. Jessica?
And Kelly, some scary moments for the residents who live in this community. And Cor just showed you some of the damage to this structure here. We actually talked to people who were able to pull out their cameras in the midst of all of this and capture it on video.
Oh my God!
Lynette Barker still gets the chills while listening to her own video.
Oh my God!
The young mother and her husband heard a massive sound just before 5 o'clock this afternoon.
And all of a sudden we heard like a big explosion. And so I thought maybe a transformer blew.
I had the baby. I came outside to see what the noise was. And I was like, oh my God, take the baby. It's a tornado. Go in the house.
Lynette and her husband Barry hid underneath a bed inside their McMinnville home. They believe the tornado came within about 100 feet of their home before taking off in the opposite direction. It missed their home, but just blocks away on Lafayette, the devastation is clear.
The first thing that came to my mind was it sounded like war happening. Booms, flashes of light, and howling like maybe jet engines, you know, the wind.
My God, the whole building's just about down.
Chris Longley was able to capture the torrential hail on his camera after the storm basically destroyed a neighboring garage and storage unit.
And then after the wind kind of died down a little bit, I came back outside and I went over by the fence over there. I had my little video camera and I videoed what I could, just a few seconds.
While the tornado also skipped Longley's home, it did pick up a trampoline, which he found sitting on top of a fence about 100 feet away.
You just don't expect it. Yeah. It was weird. And it happened like felt like it was like 5 minutes long.
And back here live now, that trampoline was actually found straddling this fence right over here. The good news is that Chris Langley, he was able to get it back into his yard. The next step from here is, of course, clean up, and the residents here have their work cut out for them. But the good news is that no one was seriously hurt. In McMinnville, Jessica Morkert, KOIN 6 News.
Boy, Jessica, thank you. Yet no one was hurt here, Bruce. You talk about something like this happening. How strong really was this tornado?
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, investigators have been on the ground all night in McMinnville looking at what this storm cell did. This is the 3D view of it. How strong was this? Well, they say it was an EF1 tornado. That's a ranking on the tornado strength scale. And basically what they determined is the peak winds with this thing were 86 to 90 miles an hour, at least for a very short time, as this touched down in McMinnville. And they determined this by looking at the damage. Now, I want to show you the exclusive view of the storm cell in 3D just before it got big at 4:18. I mean, there's not much here, right? There's McMinnville. Looks like a typical northwest shower. All of a sudden, by 4:25, this thing is exploding into the atmosphere, and it widens out by 4:35, and this is when it's putting down the tornado right around 4:33. Now, one other thing is by 4:50, the thing weakened fast and moved off to the east. I did look up our Northwest tornado rankings tonight because a lot of people have been asking me about this. Tornadoes are very rare. Oregon's 38 out of 50 states, Washington 39 out of 50. In the last 30 years, we've had fewer than 100 tornadoes at each state. You compare that with Texas, the #1 tornado state in the country, over 4,500 tornadoes in that same 30-year stretch. So this is a rare Northwest event for sure. Kelly?
When you look at those numbers, you really realize it, Bruce. Thank you. And remember, if you ever have more pictures or video of the tornado in McMinnville or anything, we'd like to see it. Email them to us to reportit@koin.com.